Good evening. I call this August 11th, 2026 meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. We ask those in attendance tonight to please silence your cell phones. Thank you to those here in person with us tonight, those watching via live stream, and those who are watching the recording of this meeting sometime in the future. Our town mission statement, which helps guide our decisions tonight and into the future, is connecting our diverse community to an enhanced quality of life through innovative programs and services. Officer Gold is our Sergeant at Arms for this evening's meeting. We thank you for your attendance, sir. This evening, I'll be leading our invocation. It is said that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I would like to thank fellow Rotarian Chuck Bryan for providing this invocation at our meeting last Tuesday, which I will now read. We come together today as equals, each bringing different gifts, different experiences, and different hopes. No single tradition defines us, yet a shared ethic unites us. The belief that service to others is among life's highest callings. May we honor that belief in all that we discuss and decide today, and may we leave this meeting more determined than when we arrived to make a positive impact in our community. All who are able, please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I adopt tonight's agenda, I'd like to recognize Brandon Zudema, our town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Given our guest tonight, I'd like to suggest, that we add a proclamation to the agenda recognizing Dr. Sharma. I would also like to suggest that we move item 8 for proclamations up ahead of the consent agenda, in case any items were pulled off of that, so we can get through that proclamation first. Thank you.
Okay. So with that being said, it's town council policy to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. If you notice anything on the agenda that could be a conflict or look like one, please share that now. Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as adjusted by the town manager.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion from Mayor Potem Rabadi, a second from Councilmember Garamella. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries 7-0 unanimously. We have an agenda. We're going to move right to item 8, which is proclamations. We have 3 proclamations on our agenda. 2 of them are for reference, and 1 will be read. At this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Patel to read a proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the proclamation celebrating the life of Dr. J.D. Sharma. I'm just going to read it. Whereas Dr. Gangadhar J.D. Sharma was a respected and influential member of the Morrisville community, whose long-standing presence, leadership, and dedication strengthened local institutions and contributed meaningfully to the town's cultural and civic life. And whereas Dr. Sharma, together with his wife, Dr. Sharot Sharma, founded the Hindu Society of North Carolina, establishing a welcoming and inclusive community institution that has served residents across Morrisville and the region for decades. And whereas, through his leadership and steadfast commitment to cultural understanding, Dr. Sharma helped foster a space where people of all ages and backgrounds gather to celebrate heritage, spirituality, education, and community life. And whereas, Dr. Sharma's lifelong dedication to service reflected the values of compassion, unity, and civic responsibility, earning him the respect and appreciation of community members throughout Morrisville. And whereas, during his long and productive lifetime, Dr. Sharma demonstrated consistent commitment to the welfare of others and contributed immeasurably to the cultural vibrancy and community spirit of Morrisville. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Morrisville hereby honors and celebrates the life of Dr. Gangadhar J.D. Sharma, recognizing his decades-long commitment to service, his dedication to fostering connection and understanding, and his enduring contributions to the cultural, civic, and social fabric of our community. This, the 11th day of August 2026, signed Mayor T.J. Kaldi.
Okay, Dr. Sharma, if you'd like to approach the dais here and bring your family and friends, we'd love to honor you by standing next to you. We're all going to go up. Yeah, if you'd like to come on up, come on up. Satish, want to help a little bit? On either side. So this is for you. He just reached 100 years old just recently, and we all miss him already. I'll take a quick picture, and then we'll let you say a few words, okay?
I'm going to take a quick photo. I will count down. 3, 2, 1.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much. And we are always grateful to this. All you people were very good to Hindu society, always support to Hindu society, support everybody. And today you're supporting Sharma. This is a very good thing for us and my family. So thank you very much. God bless you.
God bless you and your family and friends. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. He was a pillar of the community. There's two additional proclamations. They're on our agenda for reference. They are the proclamation recognizing India Independence Day and a proclamation recognizing Senior Citizens Day. So now we're going to circle back to item 6, which is the consent agenda. There are 5 items on this evening's consent agenda. FY 2027 reappropriation of fund balance prior year, that's admin. Resolution approving an encroachment agreement with Spark Infrastructure owner LP Bridges. Annexation, God bless you. Annexation 808 Church Street and 0 Church Street, that's the Hamlet development. Resolution to amend the fee schedule. And resolution amending the town council meeting schedule. So earlier I said the first one was admin. That was just my note. So the first one is FY 2027 reappropriation of fund balance prior year, period. Nothing especially about admin there. Is there any of the items that anyone would like to pull for discussion at this time? I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Rabadi.
No.
No,
Not.
not on the consent. Okay,
No, thank you.
I was getting ahead of myself there. Would any member of council, okay, so no one wants to pull anything. Is there a motion and a second to adopt this evening's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Mayor Potem Robati, and I'll second it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. And now we're at Morrisville Speaks. So I'd like to recognize Town Clerk.
We have one individual signed up to speak this evening.
Okay. So for those who have signed up to speak, please approach the microphone and begin by stating your name and residential address and direct your comments to the council. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to ensure everyone has a fair opportunity to share their thoughts. A timer will start after you state your name and address, and a buzzer will sound when your time is up. We appreciate your cooperation in helping us manage time fairly for all participants. The microphone is yours.
Good evening, Council. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed a restful break. My name is Stephanie Reed, residing at 1672 Legendary Lane in Morrisville. I'd like to start tonight with some encouraging news. Last month, the federal 21st Century Road to Housing Act became law, the most significant federal housing legislation in 20 years, passing 358 to 32 in the House and 85 to 5 in the Senate. That is rare, overwhelming bipartisan consensus. Crucially, the law focuses on expanding housing supply rather than simply subsidizing demand. It directs HUD to award competitive grants to communities that measurably increase housing stock through policies like allowing duplexes and multifamily housing by right, reducing parking minimums, permitting accessory dwelling units, and streamlining approval timelines. All proactive measures this council has shown a willingness to explore. Closer to home, Governor Stein signed the Parking Lot Reform and Modernization Act, taking effect January 1st. North Carolina will become the first state in the nation to eliminate nearly all municipal parking minimums statewide, covering 90% of our population. The economic reality behind these reforms is straightforward. Housing follows fundamental supply and demand. We widely accept that increasing supply helps stabilize or lower prices for everyday goods, like vehicles, electronics, and consumer items. Housing is no different. Building abundance is essential to tackling broader cost of living pressures. Supply-side housing policies are proven to work with documented success in cities like Seattle, Austin, Minneapolis, and internationally in Auckland, New Zealand. Meanwhile, the NC Chamber of Commerce estimates our state faces a 5-year housing gap of over 764,000 homes. Much of my research on these mechanics draws from economic journalist Justine Underhill, who clearly illustrates how housing shortages, rather than market speculation alone, drives prices out of reach. Ms. Underhill will be speaking at the upcoming Raleigh Affordable Housing Forum on August 22nd, alongside local expert Jen Truman of City Builder. Looking ahead, the National YIMBY Town Conference will be held right here at the Raleigh Convention Center on November 17th through the 19th, with early bird registration discount available through August 15th at yimby.town. Finally, I want to leave you with a reading recommendation, The Color of Law, A Forgotten History, How Our Government Segregated America by Richard Rothstein. It should be required reading for every policymaker, HOA board member, and elected official. The focus of my next comment to Town Council. Thank you for your time and continued leadership.
Thank you. Is there anyone else signed up? Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to address this body on any subject of your choosing for up to 3 minutes? Okay. I want to remind everyone that we encourage the submission of written comments as they offer a valuable way for community members to share their feedback. To submit written comments, please email publicinput@morrisvillenc.gov. We're now at item 10, which is administrative reports. These are generally for information only, unless a council member has a specific question. And are there any questions on these reports? I'd like to recognize Mayor Potem Robati.
I have some questions about the Smart Shuttle report that
Okay.
I'd like to ask. Do we have that report? Can we bring it up on the screen, or do I need to reference it from my laptop? So, hi. Thanks for being here tonight. So basically, I wanted to ask about the shuttle metrics that are in this report, because it seems to me that from January 1st, 2026 through January 30th of 2026, the metrics in terms of ridership, in terms of cost per ride, et cetera, seem to be going in the wrong direction. And that's not a criticism of you, that's a statement of a problem that I think we have. And so I know that we're getting ready to make a lot of changes to our Smart Shuttle program. Would you mind, just for me and the public, just explaining a little bit about how those changes are likely to affect these metrics?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rabati. Brett Martin here, Transportation Project Manager with the town. So in November, we are scheduled to go to 2 vehicles operating simultaneously during all service hours. And compared to the service level we're at right now, so right now we have 1 vehicle operating during all service hours, and then we have a second vehicle operating 1 to 7 p.m. each day. So it's going to provide more service capacity to take booked rides. It should reduce wait times. Ridership should increase with that, because what will happen is you see the number of ride requests that we get and how many are actually accepted.
Yeah.
It's running just above 50%. The kind of prognostication is that number will go up, so more people will actually accept rides because the proposal that it's giving them is more acceptable for their schedule. And so ridership will go up. When ridership goes up, which is the denominator in the cost per boarding calculation, then that number should come down, should come back down again. So that's kind of the real general response, I guess. But
Do you, it might have been in the report, but there were a lot of statistics in the report. I might have missed it. But do we track how many, like what's the maximum number of people in a shuttle at one time? Like, is there always 5 people in it, or there, usually 1 person? Do you have any feel for that?
so what's called the VIA Operations Center, which is where we get the data for this, it does track that. When somebody requests a ride, they can put in the number of people associated with their party. I will tell you that the highest that I've ever seen, I don't know if I believe it because sometimes people put in a number that isn't really true, is 12. So it's hard to, but that's hard to verify. That doesn't happen very much. We don't really get much more than 4. If we were to go through all of the requests that we get and kind of do an analysis of how many times have we had more than 4, it's pretty low. But I've seen, in sorting through the data, as many as 12, and I don't know if that's accurate, because when people put it in, it could be an error, right?
Yeah.
So
what, and just out of curiosity, because now I'm interested, a standard van holds 7 people and one of them is the driver. Is that the type of van that we'd be looking at?
yeah, so the minivans that would be used it will seat 6 people, the driver being the 7th, so you're right on with that. There has to be space for wheelchairs, right? So there's some maneuvering of seats around and such to allow for that. The way that we've set it up is, if there is a passenger that needs mobility assistance and is assisted by a wheelchair, then they will have that room, and it's real easy to take a seat out and to have them. But otherwise, that seat will also be available, and the van can seat up to 6 people.
Okay. And so if there's a party of, let's say, 10, would we send 2 vans? Would we recommend that the person break up their party? Like in the app, would we recommend that they break it up into 6 and 4? We must have a plan for handling that. What is it?
Yeah, so they would have to break it up. It would have to be 2 booking requests. As we approach the service changes and the entry of the minivans into service and replacing the LTVs, that type of information will be pushed out through our communications of the changes. That's one of the biggest things that we need to communicate is if you have a large party going from 16 to 19 passenger vehicles to 6 passenger vehicles can have an impact on your ability to travel together. So, but it would have to be 2 different booking requests, and we would convey that.
Okay. And there's a change management plan, I assume, to distribute that information to the public, to put it on the website, et cetera?
Right, yes, yeah.
Okay. And the last question that I have is so there's been, it seemed like the number of ride requests actually went up, but the number of actual rides went down. Like I said, there were a lot of numbers, but so I'm just a little curious about what exactly might have happened there.
So the number of ride requests, so the first 6 months of 2025, the number of ride requests was 21,100. The first 6 months of 2026, it was 18,845. So it went down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the number of requests went down.
Right.
Oh, I see, but the number of rides also went down, which is why it was roughly 50% both years. Okay, and when we say an 11% drop in ridership, that number refers to the number of actual rides that were completed?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, I appreciate all that.
Yep, absolutely.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
So I must admit, when I was first looking at this report, figure 1 was a little alarming to me, since the 2025 statistic of over 40,000 requested rides and 21,000 completed rides dropped down to 18,000 and 9,000 respectively. However, that was a mid-year kind of, it would have been nice if you also could have done a dotted line to say projected or something. But nevertheless, 18 times 2 is 36. So there is a drop in the total number of requested rides. When was the last time that we expanded the nodes for our residents, and how was that communicated?
So I think that was, I might have to look at, was it January of 2025? Or, yeah, for the Church Street node, that was the last node that was added. That was one node, and it was in Church Street in a pretty underserved area. We have not done any node expansion since. We're gearing up to do node expansion. Really kind of the target timeframe for that is winter heading into the spring of 2027, after the service expansion, the service capacity expansion that is done or implemented in November.
So you're going to be like introducing the new model as well as additional nodes, so that it's just one kind of update kind of thing. So,
well, you kind of have to have the nodes lag behind the service, because you can't do the nodes before that unless you want worse numbers. You don't want to do the nodes before the service expansion, but you kind of want to do the service expansion and then monitor that for a month or two. Should give you pretty good data to make sure that you're not doing anything to frustrate some of these issues, right? Like wait times, ride booking availability. You want to see that improve, or at least head in the right direction, before you decide to put out additional nodes that is going to provide more access opportunities and spread rides around. That just puts more pressure and stress on the ride booking.
So you want apples and apples statistics.
Yeah.
My last question is related to the reservation software itself. Right now, the reservation software is purely on demand. There is no reserving a time and date kind of thing. Do we provide additional service if somebody says, I absolutely need to take the shuttle on Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 a.m.? Can you help work with me? Is that something that has been requested and able to be provided?
So people do request that. It is not currently able to be provided. However, so following up on the alternative transit study that was completed back in February, there is a recommendation in there to expand advanced booking options to persons with disabilities and seniors. And so we are working on that. There's actually a lot that comes with that. because you kind of have to put a verification mechanism in place. And so if you just do it through the app, people can abuse it. So we're pretty much having to take a page out of the playbook of other transit providers that offer fair discounts or certain incentives for certain populations, targeted populations to ride, and make sure that we have those mechanisms in place to protect those, because if we let everybody do it, it's going to absolutely kill the system. And the real-time features of the system that so many people also really like,
So understood. I mean, we don't want to take the system completely down, but people do have injuries which cause temporary disability. So I think we have to be gentle about how verification is done, or at least make it a way so that it's very clear, a doctor's note, that kind of thing. Because not everybody always needs additional support all the time. So, okay, thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you.
That appears to be the extent of our questions. So thank you very much. Let's keep up the good work. And when exactly are we planning to introduce the new items?
So the
The
new
nodes
minivans,
and the
the
vans.
minivans have been ordered.
Okay?
There's generally a 60-day, within a 60-day window, they should arrive. It could be earlier, it could be, but when we get them, we need to do a thorough inspection of those vehicles to make sure that they meet the specifications of what we ordered. We need to wrap them with the Smart Shuttle branding. And then they will be entered into service generally right after that. That could be as early as, I would say, late September or mid to late September, or as late as when we make the service improvements in November. We are on track, and GoCarry has lined up, because they do the operations for us. They have lined up their run cutting bids for that, for everything to start, I think, October 31st. So it's the Halloween special.
Wonderful.
So,
Thank you both very much. Really appreciate your hard work on this.
yep, absolutely. Thank you.
We have one presentation this evening. We now invite Brittany Johnson, Planning Manager, to the podium. And Michelle Stiegel, our Planning Director, I think, is standing in.
Thank you, Mayor. I am going to be covering this item tonight for Planning Manager Johnson. Kayla, could you bring up oh, it's right there. Okay. So this next item is a continuation of the discussion from your July 30th meeting regarding the selection of sites for our ICON initiative. Just as a reminder, the Parks, Recreation, and Advisory Committee did recommend to you both artists for the new butterfly icon and recommended locations for those icons to be placed. Town Council considered those recommendations at your meeting on July 30th. Artists for the icons were selected, and 3 of 5 sites for the icons to be placed were also selected. Those 3 were Cedar Fork District Park, Indian Creek Trailhead, and then Morrisville Community Park with some adjustment to the location within that park. We do have 5 icons, so we do have 2 more sites that need selected by Town Council before we move forward. We'll also want to point out the pictures on the screen. So these are the icons themselves, the mold. Down here, you could see the final product. They are set to be delivered to the town on Thursday, so we are really excited. Things are moving forward, and we'll be receiving those very soon, and they will be out to the 5 artists that you selected shortly as well for them to start painting their wonderful designs. So as a reminder, Cedar Fork District Park was one of the sites that was selected by Town Council. It was a location along the Crabtree Creek Greenway. Also, the Indian Creek Trailhead was location number 2. And Morrisville Community Park, location number 3, with a revised siting within the park closer to the Morrisville Market Shopping Center and the trailhead there. There was really a desire by Town Council at the last meeting to put more of the icons along the greenways. So this evening, we have 3 additional locations for Town Council to consider. And as a reminder, we have 2 locations to select. So based on your last discussion, an additional potential location is proposed along Hatchet Creek Greenway. This is kind of behind the Morrisville Square Shopping Center, kind of where the trails converge. If you look here, this is the Morrisville Shopping Center here. And if you were to take this route forward, it would bring you closer to the dog park, or you could continue along the greenway over to Cedar Fork District Park. Shiloh Creek Greenway is another proposed location, again, in a location where you're seeing some trails converge there. And this is just a little bit north of Church Street Park. And then Northwest Park was discussed at your last meeting as well, and that is also up for consideration. On this slide, you'll see a map of the different locations. We did want to provide that to you as there was some discussion about wanting to spread the icons across town. So you will see if you look at locations E, F, and D, those are Cedar Fork District Park, Hatchet Creek Greenway, and the Indian Creek Trailhead. You do have 3 kind of in a close proximity in that location. Then again, Morrisville Community Park, Northwest Park, and the Shiloh Greenway. So after tonight, we will be preparing the sites, looking to prep them with concrete bases and some other items, and we're in the process of also scheduling the unveiling, which we are excited for. But really, for this evening, we are looking for direction from Town Council on the final 2 locations you would like the icons to be placed.
I'd like to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Body, followed by Councilmember Patel.
So I was wondering, since there were a total of 6 artists clearly rose to the top and had significant council support, given that there were 6 people there, I think the 6th place artist still had 3 people. And I was wondering what the cost differential would be if we got 6 butterflies and requested one also from that artist that is now the alternate.
We could look into that if council wanted us to do that. I would have to go back and look at the contract. I think the initial pricing also had in the design, and also the town's going to have rights to these. So they are going to be trademarked for Morrisville. No one else will be able to use them in the future. So need to kind of take that out of the equation and then look at what the price per mold might be if that was something council was interested in.
Okay. Well, I'll let everybody else speak to that also. I like the new locations. I think that they're way better. And my preference, could you bring the map back up, would you mind?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. My preference would be, of the 2 remaining locations, would be B, Northwest Park, since we don't have a greenway. That would be nice. And E, which I believe is the Hatchet Creek Greenway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Patel, please.
So last time when we spoke, several council members had showed interest in the one, I think, right here somewhere at the town hall. That was not considered, or?
We did not have town hall, something that a majority wanted us to go back and look at. I think we heard from the discussion a lot of interest on going back and looking at sites adjacent to greenways. Obviously, if you want us to look at another location, we could do that.
Okay, at least I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I would have one of that as a preference, and then Shiloh Green will be my next preference.
I would share. I think the reason Town Hall didn't rise as much is because right across the street at the stormwater is where we have one of them, right near that bench. So that was that. So correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not doing those three that are bunched in the middle of the bottom. One of them is not included. Is that right?
Indian Creek and Cedar Fork, so D and F, were both previously selected sites.
Okay. I like the idea of spreading them out a little bit. So I would go with B and C, just to have that part of town have a little bit more. And if we do end up doing more, I'll once again put in a plug for the Mills Spring Greenway and the Grace Park Greenways, just ones that people aren't really familiar with, to try to encourage more usage in those spaces. And I would definitely be in favor of at least one more. So I'd be interested in knowing what the per price going forward is for the mold, and then we'd need to pay another artist as well. So those combined costs are something I'd be interested in knowing more about, and very supportive. I'll recognize Councilmember Scroggins Johnson at this time, please.
Since I'm sure you're tallying all of our positions, I would support trying to procure a sixth icon, just because I like the way this list has turned out. If I were to remove one of the six, at this time, I would remove E, Hatcher Creek Greenway, due to its proximity, leaving Indian Creek Trailhead and Cedar Fork District Park, since those are further apart individually. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you want to add two more though? Because we're looking to add two.
I mean, obviously, there might be some opportunity if you just add one versus adding three with a cost discount, but I'm not really interested in adding additional sites at this time.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kessling, I'm sorry, I didn't see your blue thing.
I'm interested in the cost add on the sixth one, but if I had to choose out of 5, I would choose B and C, the Northwest Park and Shiloh Greenway. I think the Hatcher Creek Greenway is just too close to the other ones at this time.
Councilmember Garamella, did you want to chime in? Oh, and then I'll get to you. Sorry.
No, I was not there at the work session, but I think I'll use your judgment of what it is.
Okay, what everyone feels like. Okay. Councilmember Johnson, please.
So I'm not a fan of adding a sixth one right now, but obviously would entertain understanding what that cost differential is for sure. And then for 2 additionals, I would favor the Shiloh and the Hatcher Creek Greenway. So I think we're all over the place, Michelle. And I want to tell Councilmember Kessling, I heard what he said at the last meeting about Northwest Park and including that. And I think that the last meeting, even I made a comment to that effect that maybe we should include Northwest Park. But in hindsight, I'm a little afraid that the icon would be so close to a playground. And I'm a little worried about that, placing it so that it may look like another piece of equipment for kids to use and sit on and hang off of, although I know it's not that tall and high. But so anyhow, so that's why for the 2 additionals, I would go with the Shiloh and the Hatcher Creek. And I also want to make a comment. I mentioned this to the town manager when we spoke the other day. I had a resident that requested we think about the circle right up on Town Hall Drive, placing an icon in the circle. And, he had indicated to me that there was potential for some future something in the circle more related to the town center. So I just want to say that publicly to the person that mentioned it to me, that I would mention it here, that the circle was favorable to at least him, but I understand there's some future potential there that we should probably hold off on. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
We all had a chance, so we'll do a second round for those who wish. Mayor Pro Tem Rabati, followed by Councilmember Kessling, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that truthfully, I thought that we had already agreed on Shiloh Greenway. I'm fine with Northwest Park and Shiloh Greenway, and I would support specifically in Northwest Park, the addition of a sign that says, please don't climb on the butterfly, something to that effect.
Councilmember Kessling, please.
An idea that I had after the last session was to put the installation at the back of Northwest Park. There's a trail kind of that loops around in the back, and I think obviously appreciate Councilmember Johnson reminding me of the concerns with the being so close to the playground. But I think if it went to a little bit further back, one, that would encourage folks to take the hike back there. It's a short walk, but so it would be a worthwhile walk, especially with the public art there. And it would potentially avoid the issues of the being so close to the playground.
Councilmember Garamella, please.
Now I can weigh in. I'm not in favor of putting it at the back because when you're putting these icons, you want people to naturally walk through and pass through. You don't have to make an effort to go back to see it. And somewhere around the shelter area, even somewhere, I don't know what to put, somewhere towards the entrance, not going into the play areas, because to be honest, I agree, it's already too crowded with all this chess and this table tennis, like concrete and all those things. But certainly if the idea is to put it there somewhere outside at the entrance, closer to the shelter where there's grass around that area. Backside is people who walk, but I would say of the 100 people who come to the park, less than 10 people go there as for walking purposes, and then it faced the whole purpose of why it is. There's a lot of foot traffic on that intersection of Parkside and Louis Stephen, at least around that area. There's a lot of people can watch it, not just by walking, but also vehicular traffic can see it. That's 2 cents.
Okay, do you want to, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Kessling.
I just wanted to echo, I think, what we had landed on at the previous work session, the idea of these being discoverable, that they are to a certain extent off the beaten path, and part of the enjoyment of this public art is to stumble upon it and find it as you're walking down a greenway. So I just wanted to add that.
Mayor Pro Tem Rabati.
I do remember talking about that kind of a Trolls vibe. I wonder if it wouldn't, maybe there would be a compromise possible where there are several flower beds with bushes. They're not heavily planted, but there's bushes and trees. I wonder if putting one in the middle of that might be an option. I think that would make it way more clear that it's not to be climbed on. It still wouldn't be right out on the path where you have to, where you're going to stumble on it. But that might be an idea. But I have to say, I do like the idea of putting it in the back. I mean, the thing's going to be 5 feet tall and brightly colored. I think it would be nice if people saw it from a distance and were like, hey, what's that? And went back to check it out. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm good with it towards the back as well. Discoverable is a great word in that way. So you want to give a shot at summarizing what you've heard? Like, do you have what you need? How can we help?
Okay, so Councilmember Garamella provided some input, but without you voting, kind of basing it off of 6. And Mayor Pro Tem Rabadi kind of changing your vote. It is unanimous for the Shiloh Greenway, with 6 of you going for the Shiloh Greenway. I also had 4 of the 6 of you in favor of Northwest Park. Would probably be good to just get a little bit more direction on Northwest Park in terms of, do you want us to look at another part of that park, another location in the park? And, we would want to go out there with the Public Works staff. Planning Manager Johnson had done that, going out with Public Works staff, looking at the different areas on the property to see what was suitable in the various locations. And then just kind of what kind of discretion staff might have to choose an alternate location within the park if you did want to go in that direction.
Okay, we'll start with Councilmember Johnson.
So, Michelle, my vote was for Shiloh and Hatchet Creek, and after the discussion, and I appreciate Councilmember Kessling talking about moving it from the current location, because I could support that in Northwest Park. So maybe at this point, I would say you all go back and look at Northwest Park and figure another spot that makes a lot more sense than really right near the playground. And I agree with Councilmember Garamella. It is really busy right there. There's a lot going on in that spot where you have the red dot right now. So I'm comfortable with you all figuring a better spot that makes sense, and then we can go ahead and you get one more vote for Northwest Park.
I'm looking for more people who want to chime in, but I'll just chime in. I like it towards the back or in one of the flower beds along the path. And it seems like we're comfortable with staff. Take Councilmember Kessler.
If it's, I guess I like to throw things into the ether, it seems, but if I can do that one more time on this, pointing them in direction of Town Hall, just echoing that from the last conversation as well. If that's possible, if that makes sense, if that's feasible, there's no issue with that. I think that would be very special. Be kind of something that we could highlight as we're rolling this out.
That would be neat, unless you can only see it from one side, and I'd rather see the front than the back, if possible. But I'm with you on that. What is it that also always points at one certain thing? There's something in the world that does that. There's a group of things that point at something. Okay. So I think you have direction to take staff back out with Ms. Johnson and Public Works and bring something back for us, or do we trust that they'll just put it where they think is best? Are we good with that? Give them that authority? Get some head nods on that?
Yeah.
They'll
So
put it in
we'll
Northwest Park where they think is best. Okay. Thank you, Scott.
And we'll work with the manager's office to just inform you of what that final location decision is.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank planning, what's her title again? Planning Manager Johnson for all her efforts. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to the artists actually bringing these to life. Okay. We're now at item 12, and that is future meetings, events, and resident involvement opportunities. Hopefully we saw a lot of you at S'moresville last night. It was a really good time. And if you missed it, look at our social media. We'll have some photos there. So for a full listing of upcoming events, please see our town calendar at www.morrisvillenc.gov. And now we're moving on to council comments. Councilmember Kessling will share first, and will be followed by myself.
I just wanted to share my condolences to the family of Dr. Sharma.
Okay, I would echo that for sure. I'd also want to say that I'm proud to be part of a council, staff, and a town who prioritizes public safety and the safety of our staff. Earlier today, we had a ceremony to bring a new fire engine into service. This is a sizable investment which will protect lives and property for years to come. Thank you to Rebecca Trout and the entire National Civic League team and our residents and our staff for our All-American City ceremony yesterday at our signature Morrisville event. That is always a lot of fun, both eating and preparing those tasty treats. I even got a chance to kick a field goal in the bouncy house area and shoot some hoops. Next is Mayor Protem Rabadi.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to echo the condolences to the family of Dr. Sharma. He was a huge influence on Morrisville at large, and he will be very much missed, I'm sure, by all of the council. I also want to say that I had a really positive interaction with a Morrisville police officer this week. A friend of mine was in an accident right by Grace Park, and she was hysterical. The person that she hit was angry, and the officer just came in and de-escalated the situation and really, I felt, handled it very professionally, and it just brought to mind the fact that, you know, we really care about how our officers interact with the community, and this was just a really good example. And it was one of our newer officers too, which was nice. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's always nice to hear. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Garamella.
My sincere condolences to the Sharma family on the loss of one of our outstanding community members. The impact will be, I think, forever in our hearts, and we're going to see great things coming from HSNC as well. And that's all I have.
Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Johnson.
Again, like for me, Dr. Sharma is not just a name. If I remember, like he came to the dais carrying the Bhagavad Gita 3 times when I was elected, and that was the first time in this council chambers anyone has taken a Bhagavad Gita and done the oath. And more than that, I think the whole, if I go back and look into it, it is not just the temple, the amount of civic engagement that their family was involved with. And like HBM, the seed was coming from there, otherwise the language access plan that, you know, the town collaborated with. And this whole, you know, the South Asian population coming here in this area, I primarily came because close to work and close to the temple where I could see that I could get something to eat, you know, like selfishly. But I think the seeds that they put 40 years ago, I think has come a long way and has to go a long way. But it was expected, but at least I had a ray of hope. I had, you know, tea with him on Monday, and I think that was the last tea that he had, and he just went down. But on a different note, I think I also want to echo one of the incidents that happened, a good story about the police officers. I got pulled in almost Friday, 12:30 the night. One person on Myers Point, yeah, it's just she was having a mental health breakdown kind of a thing, and the family from India was frantically trying to figure out if she was in the house, what's going on. The police were called 4 times, and they literally banged the door everywhere, and the car was there. We were not sure if something happened bad, and the 2 police officers called the PD, the fire department. They got their big 300 feet ladders and went all the way up, and, you know, saying, you know, like, even like, you know, trying to check every room that they could, because they did not have a probable cause to break the door. And then, again, next day morning, they went there, and this lady, not out of gratitude, but, you know, she was yelling at all the officers that, you know, she was inside. She knew everything what was going on, but she just didn't want to come down close to. I was there for an hour and a half. Now I understand how every day, every night they encounter these kind of things, and luckily it was positive. And one part I was kind of, Manoj called me and said, "Oh, she's going to sue. She's going to call the Raleigh police and sue Morrisville police." I said, "How does that work?" So, but nevertheless, she was. It also comes down to the mental health situation as a whole, because once you're an adult, you just can't say anything. They have to admit themselves, and it creates a lot of issues for our police and the fire and anyone, even the spouse. If they have something, you can't force them to go. The judge has to write something. But it was an interesting night, and thanks to the PD and the fire department chipping in and helping out.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson, followed by Councilmember Patel.
So I also want to extend my condolences to the Sharma family on the passing of Dr. Sharma, who I think the wording in the proclamation was accurate. It was a huge influence on not only those that attend HSNC, but this whole community. And I'm incredibly grateful to have had the pleasure of knowing and calling Dr. Sharma a friend for 26, 27 years. So I wish the fabulous Sharma family peace and comfort in the days ahead. We also lost another longstanding resident here in Morrisville since the last time council met. Grover Luter passed away, and probably most of the newest residents here in the town of Morrisville may not have known Grover Luter and his late wife Peggy. If you recall, 3 years ago I mentioned how Peggy passed away. So residents may not know the name and may not have known them personally, but the Luters lived in that one-story brick home on Davis Drive that's just down from CVS, just down the corner from CVS. And I know folks know that house because they always decorated for every holiday throughout the year. Their windows were always decorated, whether it was hearts for Valentine's Day, shamrocks for St. Patrick's Day. So they, both Grover and Peggy, too, had an influence on this community. So to the Luter extended family, I wish them peace and comfort as well in the days ahead.
And they used to keep horses over there too, right?
There's still a horse out there.
There's still a horse out
Actually,
there, yeah.
and let me say one more thing.
Sure,
Thank you.
of course.
Years ago, so when we do a lot of work up here on council makes a lot of really important decisions for a lot of people and for the greater community. Years ago, 25 years ago maybe, I don't remember exactly, the Luters came to council and asked us to subdivide their property because they wanted to live out their days in that house. They, like I said, longstanding, I don't know how many decades they lived here. And council and staff accommodated them and subdivided their property so they could sell the corner, which eventually became CVS. And they could live out their lives then in that house. And I got to tell you, I'm proud. Now I feel emotion. I'm proud of a lot of things that I've been a part of on this council and that council has done, but that's one of them, that we were able to affect Grover and Peggy and allow them to live out their lives where they wanted, and that makes me proud.
Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard that story. Councilmember Patel.
I also want to extend my sincere condolences to Sharma family for passing of Dr. Sharma, and want to thank them for tremendous work that they have done for so many years to bring our community together. Thank you.
So we have one work session this evening. We will now invite Brandon Zudema, Town Manager, to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you for some time tonight. I'm going to discuss briefly with you a draft key to the town policy. So, as I think some, if not all of you know, we have awarded a key to the town as a very special recognition in the past. We've done that a total of 5 times that at least we can track. And that goes back to, I believe, 2006 was the first time we're aware of. And most recently, it was awarded to Martha Page upon her retirement and her 10 years of service to the town of Morrisville. However, we've never had a policy for that. So this is not related to anything that I think is necessarily pending, but I thought it would be appropriate that we catch up and adopt a policy. So if that happens again, there's some guidance on how that should happen, and it's consistent over time. So this draft is designed to be very straightforward. As you look through this policy, it basically states the purpose, which is recognizing individuals who have made exemplary contributions, talks about our key values particularly, and then it acknowledges that this is an honorary award symbolizing the highest level of appreciation and respect bestowed by the town. The scope is there, again, talks about establishing clear guidelines and a structured selection process, so it's given thoughtfully, meaningfully, and celebrating those who have dedicated themselves to the town. A couple of quick definitions around a stakeholder and also what volunteer service is. I will certainly let you read those on your own. The criteria that we've established as for your consideration is that the nominee must have demonstrated a long-term commitment to the community. Typically, this would involve a minimum of 10 years of service or contribution to the town. You may look at that and go, that's a really long time. Yes, it is. Hence why we don't want to give these out, to a lesser degree of commitment and support of the town. The nominee must have either resided, worked, or owned a business or otherwise been a stakeholder in Morrisville. Exemplary contributions can include, but again, are not limited to. This is to give you some suggestions, some ideas about what we might talk about. Volunteer service that had a lasting impact, leadership and civic, cultural, or social endeavors, and achievements in their profession or field of expertise that have brought recognition or great benefit to Morrisville. A couple of exclusions. One is that respectfully, one of you sitting on council is not eligible to receive it, and also a current staff member is not eligible to receive a key to the town. The nomination process would be that it can be submitted by any council member or employee of the town. Certainly a resident could come to one of you or to one of us and ask for that submission as well, but we would suggest it come either through staff or through you. And then we have developed a very quick form that would be submitted in writing to the clerk that includes detailed information about why this nominee would be qualified and to be considered for the award. Suggesting a selection committee that would include the mayor, 2 other members of town council, myself or a designee from the senior leadership team, and a department head that I would select to participate as well. That selection committee would get together and review the nomination, decide on whether to recommend the award to the full council based on the established criteria. Then you all would be the final decision makers. So upon a recommendation from the selection committee that this qualifies and should be considered, it would be sent to the full council and vote by majority rule whether to award that key to the town. And then the key would be awarded at a formal ceremony, typically during a council meeting or a special community event. And then again, we would review and amend this policy as appropriate. We'd look at it at least every 2 years. And again, this is not something I suggest would happen all the time. Again, I believe Martha was the most recent. That was almost 3 years ago now. And the others over span a period of almost 20 years prior to that they've been given out. That is the recommended draft for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson, please.
Thank you for pulling this together and formalizing the process. We've not had a process before and always had a little bit of spin to see how we could get this sorted. My comment is in relation to the item called selection committee. Just for the audience's understanding, the decision to recommend the awarding of the key to the town would be made by a selection committee comprised of the mayor, 2 members of council, the town manager, designee, and a department head selected by the town manager. I would offer a slight change to that selection committee. Instead of just the mayor, I would say the mayor or the mayor pro tem, because just as you would want to have a designee, I think the council needs to have the flexibility for that, and that is the role of the mayor pro tem if the mayor's not available, the mayor pro tem. But I would also add some language saying that no more than 3 members of town council can be on the selection committee, because we don't want to have necessarily 4, right? So it's the mayor or mayor pro tem, and then the 2 members of council could include the mayor pro tem if selected. Somehow that needs to be eloquent.
Can certainly clarify that.
But I think that would allow us to proceed. Sometimes the mayor's not available, and these are very time-sensitive items. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of, Mayor Pro Tem Rabani.
So I know that you said, Brandon, that 10 years is a long time, but I frankly think that 10 years, I don't think it's long enough. I think it should be 15 years. I mean, we want this to be something that not everyone is eligible for, not everyone, we want it to be something that's offered to people who are truly the outstanding cream of the crop of people who have benefited Morrisville. And I think that 15 or even 20 years would be more appropriate.
Thank you. I will share that one of the reasons I used 10 is that was the years of experience that Martha was at with the town when it was awarded to her. Doesn't mean it has to be that, but that was the basis for me starting at 10 years.
And I 100% agree with awarding it to Martha. I'm just saying that going forward, I think Martha was a special case.
That is council's pleasure to determine how you'd like that to read.
Councilmember Garamella, please.
Brent, the verbiage, like who is eligible, can you go there?
Sorry. So it really just talks about the nominee must have demonstrated a long-term commitment to the community. Typically, this would involve a minimum of 10 years. Nominee must have either resided, worked, or owned a business, or otherwise been a stakeholder, because we certainly have stakeholders that don't fit the prior category there. And then again, examples of what you might consider would be exemplary volunteer service, leadership in civic, cultural, or social endeavors that benefit the town, or achievements in their profession that have brought recognition or benefit to Morrisville.
I would like to add one more category, because the last 2 before Martha was given to the Indian ambassador, and which has no relation with any of these conditions to follow.
Correct.
And the one before that was given to Man Swaminarayan in Atlanta. Like, I think Mayor Stolman presented there. So that again has a root here, but individual is not anything to do with Morrisville. So there will be occasions in the future where we may get a very big dignitary. So I think that has to be also incorporated, because here you're boxing ourselves into it. Like a key to Morrisville is our way of giving gratitude to them. So I think that's some other category that talks about based on his stature and that kind of personality. I think we need to have that, because not everyone, especially with such a high Asian population, and you get a lot of people. Example, you get the captain of the Indian cricket team. There's nothing that we can give as a town. I said, like, hey, this is something like doing that. So we just don't know. So having that just opens up our opportunity to use that.
Councilmember Kessling, please.
So I would be interested if we had an appendix on this that had a list of recipients and a brief record of their achievements or contributions. I think that would be good from a historical point of view, and especially with just having that additional information that would help the decision makers on this. And to that point, if it can be provided to us, do we know why previous recipients were awarded the key to the town? That's that comes back in a future discussion. That would be appreciated. And I guess a question on that is, those whys, did those inform this policy at all? Or was it just?
So this is perhaps a little bit, particularly I think in Martha's case that informed this policy. As Councilmember Garamella mentioned, the other two were not particularly tied to the community. So that's a decision that you all can make if you want them to have a tie as sort of described in here, or if you want an exception for, we'd have to figure out what that language is to see Garamella's point. So in terms of why they were awarded, I think why Martha was awarded. The two prior to that Councilmember Garamella mentioned were really awarded, I think, more in the role of a dignitary is perhaps a way to describe them, that we were sort of honored to have here, or I think with the one that former Mayor Stoneman presented, I think that was out of town presented. So, do you want to continue something like that? Do you want them to be here? Those are considerations. The other two, to my knowledge, were delivered to members of the 2006 Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup Championship team. I didn't make that up. That's just who's on the plaque. So I think it was Jeff Daniels, and I'd have to look. I forget the other name that's on there now. And I don't really know what the discussion was. I don't know if there's any recollection from Councilmember Johnson. Not to put you on the spot, but I think you were the one that were here.
No, that's okay.
And perhaps Jeannie.
I asked Brandon when we talked the other day, who were the five? I only know of two. So I do not even remember the Hurricanes in 2006. That may have been like this one that was done in Atlanta. It may have been done, it had to have been done outside of this room. I don't know where that came from. I can have a vague idea, but I don't recall that at all, quite frankly.
So, Councilman Kessler, to your point, we don't have the answers on all of these. I don't have a lot of detail. We don't have a lot in writing on some of these. Again, I think the two were dignitaries. That's the simplest explanation I can offer. And then the other two, I don't have a clear answer on why we did that, so I can't really provide you an appendix. The 5 names are on the wall in the lobby. You can look at them there, but I don't have really solid answers, which is, I think, a part of why we would like to have a policy, and certainly we'll do a better job documenting going forward, but that's where we're at.
All right.
Councilmember Johnson, then myself, and then we'll do a second round for anyone who wants to talk.
So on that note, I think it is important to have a policy to be consistent. And like I said, I was not part of, I'm on council and I wasn't part of giving out those couple of keys in the beginning. So I think the council needs to be informed, and there needs to be a policy. So Brandon, is this based on other policies you've seen? I've not done my own homework on a key to the city or town policy. Did you base this off of others? Did you look at other communities?
I base this primarily off of AI. So looking up what Copilot recommended as far as if you were writing this type of policy, what would you suggest? And then, of course, I based it a little bit off of what we've awarded for, again, Martha's tenure and things like that.
Okay, yeah, and that, we were a party to that. Council was a party to that. We did have a discussion about that. So, okay, I always say it's better when somebody else drafts something, because then we can react.
Of course, that's what it's here for.
I guess I could have gone out to AI and done my own, but anyhow.
It would have been very similar.
I think so. But thank you for doing this, and to this idea that it needs to be some long-time commitment to the town of Morrisville, I agree with that. I'm going to give thought to this. Should it be more than 10 years? I like the 10 years. Should it be 15 or 20? I'd like the opportunity to mull that a little bit, but it definitely needs to be a commitment to the town of Morrisville and should not be just given out, not a key to the city. But Councilmember Garamella brings up a good point. There are occasions when we may want to recognize dignitaries. And so I'm wondering if there's some other opportunity or something else we can think about in those scenarios. And the only thing that comes to mind after hearing his comments, just 5 minutes ago, we have a coin. Is there some way you can put the town coin in a special box and that becomes something we give out? I don't know. I'm sure there are lots of other ideas, but maybe there's another opportunity. I mean, we do proclamations, but I think he's looking at something beyond the proclamation. So maybe there's some other, now you have to come up with another policy, but maybe there is some other opportunity to recognize folks in that manner.
Yeah, I do think your proclamation policy is going to speak to that because it does speak about letters of recognition and other things. We can strengthen that with whether it's a coin or something like that. But I think that, the criteria that's in there, I'll have to look at it. I'm going a little bit off memory, but I think, and Kayla's nodding her head yes, which means I might be right because I'm sure she is, that language is in there, that we could utilize that as the basis for, there's criteria in there for who we give a proclamation to, we give a recognition to, but there's also the ability in there for each one of you to do like an individual recognition. So if that was the desire of you as an individual council member, you could do that. You could certainly agree as a council to do almost any number of things that I think we could tie back to that proclamation and recognition policy rather than doing a third policy.
Okay. All right, that's all my thoughts are right now. I would, I know it looks like you want to vote on this in 2 weeks, and so I would.
Well, that's the draft. I can certainly bring you something back to look at. There is no rush to this whatsoever. I can bring it back in 2 weeks with some edits, and then you could adopt it the following meeting.
I would appreciate that.
Sure.
Quite frankly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 10 years is good, but I think 15 a slightly higher bar might be nice. At first, I was a little hesitant to support the idea of having the ability as an exception to do it for a dignitary, but I think it'd be nice to have that in the policy if it was the council's wish. So we wouldn't have to be like going totally outside the policy so I'd be in favor of having some kind of dignitary thing that we could do as a one-off.
Are you comfortable with that out of the proclamation and recognition policy, or are you suggesting that in here?
In here. I was talking about this one, not the other. I'm just talking about this one. So those were the thoughts that I wanted to share with the council and you. Now we're going to go around again. So Councilmember Abadi, then Mayor Potem Abadi, followed by Councilmember Garamella, please.
So I would also support, to Councilmember Garamella's point, there are people, and the Indian ambassador, I think, is a great example. There are people who, when they visit Morrisville, it's an honor for us. I'm not talking about people that represent us in various legislative bodies, but I do think that there are people whose presence is an honor to Morrisville. And I do think it would be nice to be able to present them with a key to the city. I mean, we always have the option, too, to do a proclamation, to do, saying that this is an option for us in the policy doesn't mean that everyone that passes through Morrisville gets a key to the city. But it just means that we have the option if there is a special dignitary. So I would support that.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a point of privilege and actually recognize Councilmember Patel because he hasn't spoken on this yet. So, and then we'll go to Councilmember Garamella.
Thank you, Mayor. So if we want to make it some sort of unique or exclusive honor, then my recommendation would be to actually increase the number of year limit to minimum 15, and to recognize dignitaries or other important public figures, come up with another recognition instead of using the same recognition for everything.
Thank you.
Councilmember Garamella, followed by Councilmember Kessling.
Yeah, first I think the word key to the town has a lot of weight, so giving them a coin or something doesn't fit the purpose of that level of the dignitaries who are coming to the town. So that's my opinion. And second, also, Brandon, something where you have to also put, it takes time to order this and get it. So you need some lead time. So I may ask to put some timelines around it, because what if we say, do it, like someone coming on Friday, you can't do it. So I think whatever it takes, the lead time, and time is of an essence, and at least a week or two when the selection committee has to ad hoc meet, and not wait for like 2 to 3 weeks kind of a thing. So those kind of things to be added.
Okay.
Councilmember Kessling, please.
So I've just done a little Google search here and found 3 policies, one from Green Cove Springs, West Richland, Washington, and East Bend, North Carolina. Esteemed residents, visitors, and others whom the city wishes to honor, as well as may be given selectively to honor a person which may or may not be a Green Cove Springs resident with extraordinary, significant accomplishments and contributions to any of the following: the history, economic, social, and/or cultural fabric of the town. The key may be given to honor significant contributions to the military service, to persons who have performed acts of heroism in the city, and to dignitaries and celebrities who have an effect on the city and are visiting. So I think there's probably some policies out there that would be worth looking at to get more information on. I've been sitting here thinking about the idea of the the 10 years versus not 10 years. I certainly think that I can think of a number of exceptions, dignitaries, or like it's saying in here, heroism in the town. They might have just moved here and done something amazing. So I think maybe some. Perhaps, I don't want to say not prescriptive, but perhaps having a little bit of discretion on it as well would be good. So I think some flexibility in the policy for that, not to make it so rigid that it couldn't be awarded to, someone truly extraordinary that, has only lived here for 1 year, let's say. That's my thoughts on it.
So I would share, can I just respond to that real quick?
Yes,
Mayor?
please.
So I think that, we do have the ability to do that. That typically has been done through one of our public safety departments for folks that, have an act of heroism or other things like that, just as something to also consider with that. I think, of course, respectfully, the more discretion, the more options, the less rigid and the less of a policy you have as well. So I think we need to keep that in mind and find a happy medium.
Councilmember Patel, please. Sorry, I might have misunderstood.
Actually, I had put it down, but I have a couple of things to say. So if we are going to include dignitaries or anybody who's not a resident of town, then it doesn't make sense to put any kind of minimum years of service limit on the recognition, because somebody with 9 years of service and contribution to town of Morrisville, that may be more important than some dignitary who came, whether it's ambassador or whoever it may be. So if you're going to put minimum years limit, then you are trying to basically say that use this honor for people who actually have benefited the town or who has done something something for the town. So if you're going to make that available for anybody who's not resident, then we should remove the number of years there whatsoever.
Okay, this was a pretty good discussion. I thought it was going to be pretty quick and cut and dry, but I think we went down a couple of good avenues, and I think what you bring back in 2 weeks is going to be a bit stronger, a little more flexible, but still creates a policy instead of it's just ad hoc. So I think we all really appreciate you bringing this forward in the first place. What Do you have what you need? Would you like to ask some follow-up?
No, no, let me put something, I'll put another draft together, and then I'll have some specific questions for you to answer that I don't necessarily have clarity on tonight.
Okay, that's a fair statement. Sounds good. And one thing I did forget to ask earlier, did you have any comments for the body after our council comments? I forgot to recognize you for that.
I would just, again, on behalf of the staff, certainly express our condolences to the Sharma family. You know, what they've done for this community has been amazing, nothing short of amazing. You know, a proclamation, I think, really only begins to speak to what they've done for this community. So I've had a couple of opportunities to meet with Dr. Sharma and always just amazed walking away. So again, we just share that on behalf of staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Mayor Colley,
Yes, please.
before we move on, for anyone watching at home, this will actually return for discussion on August 27th, not August 25th. Thank you.
In a work session. Thank you. That's very helpful. This time, we have one closed session this evening. I want to thank everyone at this time for watching this evening's meeting. This is the end of our planned public business. So is there anything for the good of the order before we go into closed session, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion and a second to go into closed session? And can you put the language? There it is, right on the screen.
I would like to make a motion that we enter closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A6 to discuss a personnel matter. I'll second.
I have a motion from Member Tem Rabadi, a second from Councilmember Johnson to go into closed session. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously 7-0. It is 7:27. We are now in closed session.